And here is another problem. Black wins a pawn and now threatens this knight, which is hanging. So this knight should go somewhere. But where? Let's consider all the possibilities. So here pawn takes. Here black wins this pawn. Here queen takes rook. Here queen takes pawn. And here the queen is trapped. So then queen takes rook and white wins the exchange. Queen for rook, and also there is pawns exchange. And here is the endgame rook and pawns versus rook and pawns. Black is one pawn ahead and white plays here like this. So now instead of capturing some pawns, taking note that the king is surrounded by black's pieces and has no retreat, mates him like this. White wins the knight, and what to do now? If we move the rook, we can have the discovered attack with the bishop. And if we play like this, we attack the queen with rook and bishop, but then queen goes to e4 and white is okay. So instead of this, why don't we play rook takes pawn? So now we attack the queen and the rook. And here white grabs the bishop. Black has to take the queen. And now white wins the rook. And the position is about the same. There is also another possibility: white captures the rook, but then black wins the queen and white wins the bishop, and in this case black has some advantage, taking the pawn. And now white has a very big attack possibility with this move check. And now if the knight takes here, then immediately white captures back with check. And now with this move, white not only forks the rook and the queen, but also threatens queen to h7 checkmate. So for example, here black plays his rook to defend against checkmate here. So now, for example, white can win the queen, or even better, check black's king. So now only one legal move for black is this, and it's checkmate. Okay, instead of this move, which led to forced checkmate or a big loss of material, black can also move his king to safety. But now rook takes with check, knight defends the king, rook takes the king. Rook takes the knight, sacrificing the rook for knight exchange. And now forking 3 pieces with the knight, so-called royal fork. And now, of course, knight takes the queen, and soon white will win this. It is black's to move, and now we have to look at the following sequence of moves, because otherwise it makes no sense. So here black attacks the rook, so the rook must either go here, but it leads to equal game, or to capture the rook. And then if bishop takes back, because it's only legal move, then note that this bishop is hanging here, and we have this knight ready to attack it. So let's try this. Okay, and now we can attack the bishop, but which square? If we go here, then bishop to b7 and the attack is pointless. So we go to this square, and now the bishop cannot escape. And white is better. In this position it is black to move. Black wins the bishop and also attacks white's queen. So now it is obvious that this queen must leave, and it has a beautiful square here because it checks black's king and also it forks the bishop. So here the only legal move for black is to defend, because the king cannot escape. And now white could of course take this bishop, but it leads to equal game with queen and 2 minor pieces versus queen and 2 minor pieces. So instead of this, white takes advantage of this bishop here that has the diagonal attack, and now this bishop is pinned here. So to get rid of this pressure against black's king that is here threatened with checkmate, black sacrifices his queen, and now white wins the exchange queen for bishop, and also white captures that hanging bishop, and now white has a decisive advantage. White wins the rook, and taking back the bishop is bad because it loses the exchange rook for bishop. Why even bother about this if we have a passed pawn here and we have the rook controlling c-file? So then the rook can fork the king and the rook, and the pawn will promote here with capturing the rook. So it's like this: check, now rook has to take, and we use this configuration to win the rook, promote to queen here, and also check white's king. So now we could win this bishop here, but why? We can move our queen more actively first. So we attack the pawn and the king at the same time. So now it's check, moving to safety, and now we win the bishop, and soon we also win this pawn. And here black wins the pawn and attacks the queen. So what to do now? Maybe playing like this. If we go here, then bishop takes, we take here with check, he takes, and he then grabs the rook, and the rook takes the bishop. So to make sure if this is correct, we must calculate 4 moves ahead, and let's see if we were correct. And black is better with rook versus knight and 1 additional pawn. So it's not the case. But if we play queen takes bishop here, then this is what happens. Queen takes back, and now because of this knight we fork the king and the queen, winning the queen. Note that we have to capture with the knight here, not with the rook, because the knight was attacked by the rook and it was hanging. And now it is white who has the advantage. Knight to d4, taking the pawn. And what to do now? Note that we have a bishop and queen here controlling this diagonal, but now they cannot do anything about it. So how to play to win? Note that this knight is protected only by the queen. So if we take it, the queen takes it, and then we can check black's king with the knight, like this, and it opens the discovered attack on this queen here. So it looks like this. Check, and now we have the discovered attack here, and this knight is protected here. So now the queen has to take it, and black has the advantage. Takes this bishop, and what to do now? If black plays here check, then bishop f3 and white is okay, even white has some advantage. But this pawn is hanging, so why don't we capture it? But not like this. How about if we captured with the knight here? Then we will have the checkmate possibility here, and there is no defense against it, so white might as well play like this, and it's checkmate.